You did your MBA, got your degree, made the resume, and finally ready for the interview. And the moment interviewer says, "Tell me something about HR operations," and your mind goes blank. Because honestly, the real HR tasks that you get to do on the job, or the kind of questions that you face on the day of the interview, are nothing like what you study in your degree, in your MBA. So in today's video, I'm going to share the most common asked questions in the interview from an HR fresher, and I will share what interviewer is actually trying to ask you with that questions, and what you shouldn't say as an answer, and what you should say as an answer. So let's get started. Let's first discuss the very common question, and that is, tell me something about yourself. Here, interviewer is not trying to check your family background, where you have studied, where you come from, all of that. That can be a very small part of this answer, but that's not what the interviewer is trying to check. The interviewer is really checking your confidence, your clarity on the subject or the task, and how you see yourself as an HR, or how you see yourself in the HR job. So do not say that I'm a passionate HR professional who loves working with people. Do not say that, guys. I mean, that doesn't tell anything about you. Instead, say, I'm a detail-oriented person, and during my MBA, I worked on projects like employee onboarding and how to do the payroll inputs, which gave me real exposure to the operational side of HR. And I'm confident I can handle joining formalities, attendance tracking, and employee communications from day one, given proper guidance. And in that very moment, you sound like amazing, like somebody who actually knows HR, rather than describing some theoretical concept. Question number 2. What are the major functions in HR? Here, the interviewer is really trying to check if you know something beyond recruitment and training and maybe payroll. So very simple, classic answer as a fresher that you should give is that HR can be divided into 3 fundamental parts: hire, manage, and exit. In hire comes the recruitment, onboarding process, their offer generation, and all those things. In manage comes the payroll inputs, performance review coordination, attendance, and employee engagement. And then in exit, it's mostly about resignation handling, full and final settlement, and various documentation that comes with it. See, now there is so much more in these particular things, but as an HR fresher, it is more than enough if you say this. This shows that you have a clear understanding how the HR really functions. There can be fancy words, fancy terms to it, but this is a very simple way to describe HR as a whole, and it shows that you have grasp on the fundamentals of HR. And it instantly makes you stand out from the crowd, and the person who's interviewing you will have that confidence, okay, this person knows something about HR. Third question is about what HR tools and softwares you are familiar with. Now, the classic answer that I've heard most of the HR freshers give is that, oh yeah, we have studied HRIS in our MBA degree. That's not what they meant. They are trying to check how much is your awareness related to HRIS tools. So what you have to say is, I have explored tools like Zoho People and Great HR through free demos. I understand how employee data, attendance, and payroll are connected in HRIS system. So here you are not positioning yourself as some expert. You're truthfully saying that you did your part by trying your hands on the free versions of these softwares. There are free demos available for these software. If you, as an individual, you go to their website, you log in, and you take a tour like a demo. All of those softwares provide that, provided you have put in an effort to just go ahead and make yourself familiar with it. So it gives a very positive impression that you are enthusiastic about HR, and you have proactively dipped your toes into these software just to check how it flows, how it works, so that you have that familiarity from the day one, and it gives such a positive vibe to the interviewer. Question number 4. Can you explain onboarding for a new employee in the company? So now when you answer this question, or any question that we are discussing so far, do not try to make it very complex or use difficult word terms that you are not yet fully familiar with. Try to explain with simple terms, simple things. That is what is expected out of you. The interviewer is not expecting some complex jargon, corporate jargons from you. They know that you're a fresher and they're expecting simple, meaningful, not definitions, I'll say, descriptions of the process if you understand them or not. So for this, you have to say, yeah, sure. From my understanding, in onboarding, HR sends a join mail, collects the various ID proofs and the bank details of the employee, and they update the HRIS. They create an entry for the employee in their HRIS tool, whatever they are using. They issue an ID and they make sure to add that person in the payroll input so that the salary can be started, and they share the company policies with them so that the employee can begin by understanding the company policies from the day one. And the main goal of the onboarding is that the employee experience a smooth start from the day one, and they feel connected and they feel that they know whatever is required to know on the day one, and they are all set to work there. With that answer, you'll sound like a young HR who is ready to do the HR task from the day one and is not somebody who has just learned theories and who is just telling all theoretical stuff. Question number 5. How do you actually handle a loss of pay or LOP? Now I know a lot of freshers are not familiar with LOPs and terms like this or loss of pay, or they might end up telling that this is something when employee do not get their pay, a leave for which an employee do not get their pay, and the payroll team calculates it and then it gets deducted from their salary. That's not what you have to say as an answer, because that sounds like very theoretical, as if you are trying to put everything on the payroll team and you are not understanding what is the role of HR in LOP. So here we have to very smartly answer, if an employee takes unpaid leaves, HR calculates the LOP as monthly salary divided by the total working days, and that amount is then calculated for the unpaid days. These inputs are then shared with the payroll team and they adjust the salary of the employee accordingly. Now, it's not very obvious from these two answers, both answers that I shared. None of them is wrong though, but the first answer would show you as somebody who do not understand the back end of the payroll input, who do not understand the ownership of HR, who do not understand what HR actually do behind the various process. Like if you see payroll is executed by the payroll team. Then an outsider might feel like, oh, then what HR has to do with the payroll? But there is so much that goes into payroll from an HR team. So if you give an answer like this, which we discuss later, that shows that you understand that though the payroll is rolled out by the payroll team, but the back end of it is very much owned by HR. HR team is taking ownership that which employee is gonna have LOP and why are they going to have the LOP. And it's not only about the calculation. HR has to make sure that employee do not reach that level of LOP, as in there are enough paid leaves provided by majority of the companies, and most likely it's encouraged that employees use those leaves instead of going on LOP, because it's little discouraging for the employee. So you have to speak to manager, you have to coordinate all of that. So that's for some another day. It's very deep concept, but what all I'm trying to say is that will give a hint to the interviewer that you are not just somebody on the outside who is looking at HR from a theoretical point of view, but you have some sense that there is some relationship, there is some back end story behind the payroll inputs. It's not just the payroll team which is doing everything. There's a lot that goes from HR team in it. Next question. What will you do if an employee complains about their manager to you? Now I've seen variety of answers for this question, but you have to very simply say, first, I will listen without judgment. Without judgment is very important here. So first, I'll listen without judgment and I'll record the concern. Then I'll check if it's related to performance, behavior or communication. Based on that, I will involve the HRBP or manager who can then take a lead on this issue. In this answer, the last part is very, very, very important, where you say that I will involve the concerned HRBP or the manager who will take the lead on this issue. That is very important, because most of the time when freshers answer the questions, they'll be like, yeah, I'll listen to the employee, I will record the issue, and then I'll start working on the issue. I'll try to help the employee to sort that out. That is not a smart answer, guys. I mean, it shows that you're still in theories. You do not understand that as a HR fresher, you cannot take leads on such issues. Employee complaining about their manager is a kind of escalation, is a big issue, is a grievance issue, and an HR fresher cannot handle it and will not be able to handle it, and there is nothing wrong with it. They are not expected to handle it. At the most, they are expected that they will involve the appropriate manager or HRBP and will give all the required inputs rightfully, and then let them take the lead on that issue and maintains the confidentiality of that issue and do not talk about it with others. You can mention that as well in the answer later, that you will maintain the confidentiality and will not speak about the issue with anybody, be it your teammates or somebody else. So that is very important. That then this shows that you own the fact that you're a fresher, you are aware that you're a fresher, you will do your part, and then you will involve the right people who can sort the issue out. You are not trying to be a Superman there. Oh, I can do it all from the day one. Next question. Describe what all goes into salary breakup. Here also you are supposed to answer like a fresher, but as an aware fresher, not like somebody who has just read the books. You have to say the key components of the salary breakup are basic salary, HRA, allowances, deductions like PF, PT, and net pay. And for CTC, companies also add benefits like bonus or gratuity. So when you say that, it will sound like that you have good enough understanding of the structure that goes into salary slip. Now, it's not as simple as this, the components that we just discussed, but these are very basic components. As a fresher, you should know that these are the components that goes into salary slip. Whatever happens in the end is a very complex structure. What results into a salary slip, that's a different reality, and you do not have to worry about it as an HR fresher, but you must be clear with the fundamentals. That is the goal. And the next question on the list is, what are the basic statutory components that every HR must know? I know you must be scratching your head on this and thinking or trying to Google or try to find out answers. Do not do that. It's here on the screen, and these are the really basic ones that every HR must know, including freshers. And that is the PF, which is Provident Fund, which is 12% of basic. It is defined by law. There's nothing more to learn in it. That's how it's defined by law. And then there is ESIC, that is applicable if your salary is below 21,000, and then there is gratuity, which is typically calculated still after 5 years, but make sure that you update yourself on this one, because soon I think there will be changes in the years of experience when the gratuity is paid. So make sure whenever you have an interview, you update yourself that if that change has already been implemented or not, because there is already a petition in the court to reduce that years of period. And the next question can be some form of this, which is, what is the difference between HR journalist or HRBP? Or it can be asked in form of why you want to become an HR journalist or why you want to become an HRBP. So answer to this is, an HR journalist executes day-to-day HR activities like recruitment, onboarding, payroll input, but HRBP is somebody who partners with business leaders, who analyzes the data, and who solves people issues strategically using numbers, using data, and finally giving strategy that can help solve all those issues. And for your information, usually people start as an HR journalist and then they grow up to the level of HRBP. Whoever wants to work with as an HRBP, not everybody wants to work as HRBP. HRBP is fairly senior position, and be very careful when you are an HR fresher and you apply for HRBP position, or you say that I want to join in as an HRBP, you come across as somebody who do not understand HR. It's like you want to reach the level 4 without understanding the fundamental level, because you have to start as an HR journalist. You have to first understand the HR process. HRBPs understand both the HR process plus the business end to end, and that's how they are partnering with the business. So you always start as HR journalist. It's not necessary that everybody gets a title of HR journalist. It can be HR executive, HR associate, junior HR assistant, whatever, but that's the junior form of HR journalist essentially. So you start as an HR journalist and then you move up in the ladder as a HRBP if you want to. Otherwise, you continue to be HR journalist, senior HR journalist, and then manager, so on. And now the next classic question, when the interviewer asks, do you have any question for us? And some of them say, no, I'm good, I do not have any question. Here, though this answer is not wrong, but to stand out from the crowd, you can ask a very genuine question, and that is, I would love to know how HR processes are structured here. Does one person handle end to end, or are the roles divided by function? Now, if you say that, interviewer will very easily understand that you are somebody who knows how HR works. You know that there can be companies where the end-to-end operations are done by one single person, and there are companies where it's divided into different departments, different functions, divided by task or roles. It happens both ways. So you are genuinely trying to check how it is done in this company. So it's genuine information for you. This information will be helpful for you as well to decide whether you should join that company or not, because if it is end to end, it's gonna be a rich role and you are gonna learn so much in that role. But if it is like department wise and those departments are given very tiny tasks from the entire HR function, then the growth will be very slow. You may not want to stay in that company for long, or if you want to, then you want to move from one department or one team or one function of HR to another. So that's a very crucial information for you as well, and it will also give a very positive picture to the employer as well. The employer will understand that you have some knowledge into HR and you are not just theory. And if I have to summarize the secret formula of clearing these interviews, it's actually 3 steps. Number 1, the fundamentals. The interviewer is checking if your HR fundamentals are clear. Number 2 is practical awareness. How aware are you about the real processes beyond theory? How much you know how the HR functions, how the tasks are done, how the softwares work and all of that stuff. And third one is mindset. Do you sound like a reliable person? Do you sound like you are a people first person? You are a professional. You'll be able to maintain the authenticity. You have the kind of clarity with which you can communicate with employees. That's very important. If you prepare your answers with these 3 layers, you will be able to crack any interview, even as an HR fresher. And if any one of you feels that they are lagged behind, their MBA did not teach them enough practical world of HR, and if you want to learn from me, then I have a crash course on HR which describes end-to-end HR, real task, on the job tasks, what all goes into day-to-day activities and how you should answer, how you should prepare for those interviews. So if you wish, you can enroll in that course. That is highly value loaded. Or if you want some quick cheat sheet, I have a PDF where I have answered 100 interview questions. Right now we just discussed 10. I have this cheat sheet where I have answered hundreds of such questions. So you get covered in all the domains, no matter where you are giving interview, for what profile you are giving interview in HR. It covers everything, so you can check that out as well if you are interested. So that was it, guys. Let me know if you found this video helpful, and if there are more topics on which you want me to make videos to help you understand the HR better. And with that, I'm signing off. You keep on watching more content on the HR destination to become a successful HR, and I will see you in my next one. Till then, stay safe and healthy. Take care. Bye.